Danielle came down for her smokies. Come say hi to Adam.
As you grab my pants.
Yep.
Oh. Hello. I just woke up, but how are you?
I woke him up. He answered the phone and it was pitch black, and then his alarm went off.
He didn't need to do that, but I was a little irresponsible this weekend, and we're just talking shop today. But we are recording, so some of this might end up being a video. We're not sure yet. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about you. We do make the get him low in joke a lot.
You get him low in?
Yeah, like a lot.
Yeah. I'm an unsuccessful meme, but you guys are keeping it alive. So
yeah, kind of part of our family from afar. So nice to meet you finally.
So that led to Adam was in the normal kid classes. I was in the dumb kid classes because of dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
And so my social anxiety is lower because I was just allowed to be this awkward kid, where Adam had a little bit more of a structured, there's a certain way we expect you to act, where in the dumb kid classes, you have learning disabilities, you actually have dumb kids, and then you have like the socially unacceptable kids, the ones that like throw fits and shit. And so all of this came down to him at karaoke sitting alone. This is what it stemmed from. He was sitting alone at karaoke last night because his friend didn't show, but the regulars were there. Yeah. So the question was, does he still feel butterflies and stuff when he gets up because he's performed so much? And then he was talking about the person who puts on the karaoke came over and was talking to him and never mentioned that on the sign-up list, these regulars had left enough space so people could sign up between. Yeah. And Adam put himself at the bottom, just assuming these assholes are taking up the whole page.
Yeah.
And she never mentioned to him, like, hey, we know you're at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I sat through like these people doing repeat performances, and I was like cool with it and everything, but it was just this kind of socially confusing situation where I wasn't sure. This host, I'm going to see a lot of her. I'm going to be over there like every other Saturday for the next.
Until you're not.
And she specifically, one thing I know about her so far, Kat, is that she's got a mind like a steel trap. She remembers everything. She told me she remembers everything. So she's going to remember last night for a while. So I'm this like guy who's like socially inept apparently, and I come and put my name at the bottom of the list and then wait through everybody, and then I'm like too tired by the time I actually do my song, and I make an ass of myself. And
he had two doubles and a vape pen while he was waiting.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'll. Yeah.
I've been in party mode a little bit, but so there was karaoke 3 nights in a row, and I did well 2 nights, and the third night was a bit of a stinker, but I had a good time.
I mean, you stayed up late, but 2 doubles and a vape pen is far from like you might have a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Like thematically, it's kind of like the you enter into you come from a family system, you enter into a school system, you have all these systems like trying to shape you, and people put you into buckets that shape you. So this math teacher holding me back because of my attitude, despite my passion and aptitude. Yeah. She held me back because she didn't like me. And if you want to move forward, everyone's got to like you, which is true. But what does that help me? Now I'm old and people don't like me and I suck at math. You should have just let me have the fucking math class, because I ended up going into a subject where I needed that math. And I'm in multiple subjects where I would really love to know that subject. And I literally have a calculus book in the trunk of my car at all times in case I get stranded.
Just doing some exhibition math. Yeah.
James is in a similar boat. Like, these people get into like an alternative bucket because of all these different issues. Some of them are undiagnosed, personality issues or like cognitive issues. Some of them are like problems at home. Some of them are like actually being a little slow. So, there's so many different people who are putting these programs, and some of them are really stifled by them. But then some of us are just really stifled by the regular old experience of going through like an underfunded, mediocre school system that affects
you know, and it doesn't matter how much you do to prove yourself otherwise. Like they just, you know, she's already made up her mind, unfortunately. Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm not very good at like playing the game. I just want to do my job, like when I'm working. Like, and if you make my job more difficult and stuff, then yeah, I'm gonna get irritated. But but yeah, that's so shitty. I totally understand that. That's
It's like, okay, well, given that that is true, I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
May I please do something with my life that is meaningful and be able to survive? Is that okay, guys? Can I please do that?
Can I still be helpful to, you know, society and yeah, and also just
Those guys, yeah.
I think as humans, we have the luxury of being inept in a category or many categories and still go on. I think that kind of goes back to your level of comfort. Like how much do you need to play the game to be comfortable? That might be living in a cardboard box and screaming at the moon every night. That's where you're comfortable. Or the 60,000 square foot mansion with a staff, and that's your minimum comfortable. For people who don't want to play the game, the only real solution is to be in business for yourself, either as a contractor for whatever you're doing, a contract programmer. I only come in and program what you ask me to do. But trying to fall into some sort of position that exists is never going to work 100%. You can put up the facade. You can act like these other people because you know how to act. But I don't think you'd be happy. So it would kind of be that in the animal world. I mean, you do die. That's not a luxury that anything else has. The smartest fish in the lake still gets eaten by an eagle.
This system is different than the system of nature and evolution in that it was designed by people with goals. The school system is intended to make people knowledgeable and employable and conscientious and civil so that they can participate in the democratic process and make this a wonderful place to be for a diverse range of people. And we literally pay money to people who are handicapped so that they can live. They are not going to participate, and we don't kill them off. We don't let them go off in the woods and die. Our tax money pays for them to eat and drink and sleep. And so there's many, many, many people on the margin today who don't conform to the values put forth by the system as it currently exists. And what you're saying applies to that system 100%. It's inevitably true. It's been true for hundreds of years, maybe. The kind of the way that we do this, it's all this voluntary thinking. It comes down to kind of a question of who our society is for. Is our society for old people or young people? A lot of people are like, society's for the kids and the babies and that. But I don't think it's for the 50-year-old people of the world. And that's kind of who makes the decisions that matter. You know, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, people who've been in the game for a while. There was a long time where the game was the church. There was a long time where the game was a totalitarian regime. Right now, the game is very game-like. You can survive, but if you play the game, you can get enough loot that you can be comfortable, more comfortable, less in danger. This system is really, really kind of the same thing at base as it was when we were riding on horses. And I'm satisfied with it. I'm happy with it. I don't want to go back from it. I don't think anything's ever been better, but we just made the internet. Can we not change anything about the world of what you do with most of your time in order to provide for your family? I'm not trying to be like critical or renegade on our system. I think it's great. I just think that any system should be open source, should be capable of adapting to the problems that it presents and not be in denial of the problems that it presents, but address them as problems. Like, yeah, there's externalities to like any system that's productive. There tends to be externalities.
I think in the the U.S. culture anyway. I gave a little thought about who is culture for a while back, just like thought chain while I was driving somewhere. It's like I think it's 20 to 30-year-olds on a shifting platform of who the current 20 to 30-year-olds are, because they're the ones entering the manipulatable job market. Below 20, you might be in a job market, but you're not changing shit. Over 30, you've kind of, in our generation, you've kind of chosen something. Like, I've worked here for 8 or 10 years, and I'm not going to like change now. And so the 20 to 30-year-olds are the ones now getting into a position where they can change things that caters to the tastes of a 20 to 30-year-old. Before that time, you're thinking, man, once I get to like 21, things are going to change for me. Or once I get to 25, things are going to change for me. And then once you're past 30, it's like these fucking kids like doing all this other stuff. And it's a story as old as time. As soon as you enter that 10-year gap, you don't recognize that everything in the U.S. is for you. You're enjoying it. You're living it. You're indulging in it. And then once that time passes, once the next 10-year group comes through, you're like, man, things are just changing in a way that doesn't make sense. These kids are like listening to dubstep or whatever. I think that's an ever-evolving thing. I can't speak for any other cultures because I haven't been in them. But I feel like the U.S. kind of caters to that.
There's never transformed this quickly before.
Generally, that time. And the unfortunate thing, and so as an older person, what kind of wisdom can you give me? I can't, because you wouldn't listen.
Applies.
You wouldn't listen even if I did.
Well,
but,
and it wouldn't be applicable even. Maybe.
Well, I think the best applicable thing is to just pay attention to what you have and be happy with that.
This is a sort of parable I apply to that. I think about in my grandfather's time, he could basically be his father again, and that would probably be his best strategy in life.
That'd be okay, yeah. That was kind of what's expected.
He could be like his father, but he had to do things pretty different in order to adapt.
Right.
For me, I have to be nothing like my father in order to get by.
Things have changed. Those 20 to 30-year-olds have changed things quite a bit.
And I buy that. I think the general thrust of it, with the modern age, we have this diversification of what society is catering to. There's a lot more catering to really old people and people from all walks of life, people with alternative beliefs, and there's just a lot more diversity of. Yeah,
we've become not as exclusive, more inclusive than exclusive. I think that's what's changed more than anything else. The internet, that's something, but from your grandfather's era to your father's, Frank to Larry, Frank growing up had to use an outhouse. Growing up, there weren't so many highways. The telephone system wasn't as good as it is. TV came out. Then color TV.
Being forced to murder people for the government.
Yeah. So, I mean, the change, the perspective of your grandfather to your father would have been similar. Things are just changing so fast. When I was a kid, you couldn't drive from California to New York in at all. Like, you'd have to be on dirt roads at times, and cars weren't good enough to do that. You'd have to take a train, or airplanes later on. But it was still, physical travel was limited to an extent. You didn't really leave your town as much as now. Boats and trains, and then your dad, fucking Lurie. Same thing. When I was growing up, Adam has the kids have so much more, so much faster, and then now that we are of the age that we probably could have had kids that are going through the post prepubescent figuring things out and about to change the world phase. The things are so different for them, and we just don't connect. So although it is accelerating because as our society, we're getting faster at changing things, more willing to change things. I think that to an extent, you still kind of want to be your dad. or mom or whatever. You want to be the previous generation, but it just doesn't fit. Just like then, Larry wanted to be a lot like Frank, and you could do it because it didn't speed up so fast that you could kind of fit. So that gap is widening. Is that what you're saying?
I think we're talking about a couple of things. There's a timelessness to the age of a generation. Yeah, there's always going to be those dynamics, and people over the last couple of years have been so big on this being a really dismal time with all the political upheaval and all the social unrest and all the planetary degradation and threat of negative outcomes and fears and COVID, and being isolated. And bitch, like, we had gangs, we had AIDS, we had racial segregation, we had wars, we had nuclear Cold War. This has always been a terrible time to live. And there has always been media that caters to the people who are at an age where they're really freaking out about that. That's people who are maybe our age to a little bit younger. They're generally like, oh my God, this world is very dangerous, and my kids are growing up in this world, and oh my God, how am I going to make people have their midlife crisis and have their just kind of realizing what the actual outcome of dreams generally is in a person's life. It can be like, but that's just part of growing up, right? That's a time.
That's that same 20 to 30-year-old thing where, okay, you're not a kid anymore. You're entering a more influential workforce. And so now you're understanding the weight on your shoulders and have something to complain about. No matter what decade it is throughout history, once the burden of running this nation falls on you, you got a lot to complain about.
Yeah.
You go back to your hometown and everything's different, right? Everything's changed. Everyone's gone. Like, all the stores that you knew are different now and owned by different people. So what I'm saying is part of that is that you've grown up and you're in a different context now because of who you are now. Another part of it is that some of these towns are actually changing and some of them are not actually changing. And so there's a part of it that is actually accelerating at an increasing level. Part of it, we talked about last time, that we're now bombarded with all these radio waves, and people now look at a little device all the time and are a cybernetic human computer machine as they face the world, as they approach the world. They have an internet connection. They are getting all their information over the internet. So the nature of a human being is now fundamentally different. Not fundamentally, but different in terms of its capabilities and how you would identify it as an alien looking at one of them. Oh, it's connected to the network. That's a different kind of thing than one that isn't connected to a network. So those things are different in this time, which has created a sort of confusion because there's no centralization. Even if you say we're this particular generation, we have this particular interest, there's still too many different audiences and too many different groups that falls into. You can't really just be one thing anymore, and especially not if that thing's outdated. So if I was exactly like my dad, I could live in that antiquated world that's still stuck in the world that he's still stuck in. And likewise, as myself, I still live in a world that I'm still stuck in instead of the world that's presently arising, the actual thing that's emerging in humanity right now. I'm like wishing to participate in that. And I think that was kind of where I was going with why I would even do karaoke. Is like, yeah, there's a desire to participate in what's going on in some way.
I started thinking about it because of Betty White, God rest. How did she connect with so many generations throughout her life? And I think she had an understanding that each generation feels that the world is for them, for their whole life.
Right.
She had an understanding that it isn't. It's for a generation at a specific time.
This is for my group, yeah.
Yeah, and so my group passed, so I can be bitter and try to stop the train and pull the bus chain to, oh, this is my stop. That no, it'll never stop. And so if you can, you don't have to buy in completely. She never wore like period clothing, and I mean that like decade to decade. She stayed like pretty neutral as far as her clothing. Her language changed. The way she spoke changed, not in like slang ways, but what was socially acceptable to say changed. When she was a big TV star in black and white and she's in her 20s, you could never say shit on the radio or TV. And now she was dropping, God rest, F-bombs, bitch, this, whatever. She adapted enough. But the people that stay relatable understand the world is for a specific generation at a specific time, and that's constantly changing.
And like, I think the integral or even just postmodern view is that this stuff is all happening at once, and it's not really self-aware of being one thing happening. It's like kind of to what you're saying, like each generation thinks it's like the thing that's happening, and they're all happening at once. They're all like,
yeah.
It's a funny thing to think that at any moment you're walking through a park and there's just a kid over there that's just like, whoa, the world, I want to go jump. I want to run it. And then you could be like that. You could approach it that way. You're in the same situation.
Good.
Just learn to cut that out. Like, you're up to something. You've got shit to do. You've got responsibilities.
As the weight of the running the current, you're the generation running the current thing. That's the realization that that's on you now.
That's
the park now. You notice all the garbage in the park, and the two shady guys sitting on the bench over there, and like wonder how many kids have bled on that slide. The little kid doesn't think that, because it's now it's up to me to like report these guys selling drugs over here and disinfect the slide and pick up all the little chip bags and stuff, because the weight of the world hasn't fallen on that kid yet. It's not 20 to 30. And early in the 20s, and as you get closer to the 30s, which is just a general reference, it's going to shift for everybody and how they go through things. But the son of a bitch, the living in hell part of being alive, because being alive is heaven, hell, and purgatory, is you don't realize that today could be the best day of your life, or it could be the worst day of your life. In the situation, you're always thinking tomorrow might be better or tomorrow might be worse. And that little kid, today's always the best.
It better be.
It's got the amount of money I paid for those fucking Oshkosh bagoshes that are getting grass stains all over. Don't even know they're wearing clothes.
The mill that exists by virtue of us creating it and by virtue of natural processes, because it's all natural, what's happening is natural, always, not the case, results in people who are our age feeling the way that we do and experiencing what we've just described as our reality. I've always been very suspicious about how we do kids. They have a lot of energy. They love to be praised. And they just seem like perfect workers. Like, I'm not saying put them to work. I'm just saying they want money. They have a lot of energy. We make them, well, run up the slide and then go down the slide. Run up the slide. I'll watch you. I'll clap for you. It's like, this is an inefficient thing going. Could that possibly be generating electricity or anything like that? What I'm kind of trying to illustrate with that, look at people's, let's say, people who haven't really been processed through the system of education and family that makes you a responsible adult taking care of your entire planet with your fellow man, doing a whole different thing. Like, you're just, whoa, a planet. I'm on a spiritual journey that, but they have all this physical energy, don't they? They're always they run around, hop around. They're very physical. They shout. Their emotions come out easily. They're not stifled. Physical energy, like that child on the playground running around with their friends, interacting very naturally, not stifled, not controlled. So it's not just growing up. It's not just aging. It's not the effects of time on the human body. It's the effects of role playing in a civilization. And we have the native capacity to have more energy and excitement and zeal for what we're doing. But the way that we do things is not promoting that in a lot of people. A lot of that is an illusion created by sensationalism and just being fussy because life is hard. And we have more license now and more outlet for being fussy. But the fact that adults have been unhappy forever is not necessarily something to dismiss.
No, let's go back to the energy thing. It's unharnessable because there's no accountability to it. Run up the slide and come down and I'll clap. That'll work a couple times. Okay, fourth time. Run up the slide and I'll clap. No. Okay, yeah, try to change their mind. I'll still be here. They have all that energy because their body's fucking growing at a magnificent rate. They need that energy so that they can actually transform from this 1 foot thing to a 6 foot thing in the next 16 to 19 years. Like they need that. That has to be there. But they have no analytical mind yet because they don't have the tools to think about pros and cons and positive and negative outcomes yet. So
as your average Amazon fulfillment specialist or McDonald's, like taking orders, like they're not worried about big picture responsibility. They just like getting that paycheck. They're just coming in doing that thing.
They know to an extent that if they are in shorts,
fired is bad, and they shouldn't do the thing that causes that to happen.
And that doesn't even matter to a lot of them. But they do know if they go down that same slide in shorts, it's going to burn.
Right.
They do know that, if they punch someone in the face, there's going to be some sort of accountability. Accountability is the root of the more accountability you understand. To kind of
accelerate. I'm just saying, I don't think it's 1-to-1 that getting into a position of more responsibility takes away the joy of the present moment. I think that is a thing, and it's a systemic problem. It's like the more your program does, the more time it's going to take, the more resources it's going to use. So as it scales up, you have to worry more about the efficiency of it, down to the point where one extra character is going to cost X amount of dollars. And this applies to parenting, and this applies to education at all levels, and this applies to management of the actual jobs that are out there, that this is a system that could potentially be promoting joy in humanity, and that's not the primary value, but it could be part of it. A system like school, prison, or mental health therapy could either be remedial of symptoms, or it could be effectively combating core causes of criminality and mental illness problems and employee truancy. But, obviously the reason we don't do that is because we don't know how. It's not like, we know how to rehabilitate people, but we can't afford it. It's like we really don't know how to rehabilitate people.
The highest level prison in Croatia, like as far as lockdown, max security, has an 80% recidivism rate. The maximum security prison in Norway has a 20% recidivism rate. The difference is you're put into a holding cell with 30 other people, and it's 100 inmates per one guard. And the inmates kind of control the inmates. There's like prefects in Croatia. Norway, there's 2 inmates per guard. And the guards are encouraged to socialize with the inmates. It's more dormitory style living. They don't lock they lock the, what do you call it? Pod, but they don't lock your cells. There's a time of day where you're expected to go to bed, and there's a time of day where you're expected to wake up. But if you choose not to, it's fine. If that becomes a habit, if you continually go out of this, then it becomes a mention, like minor infractions build into a major infraction. But the recidivism rate, they believe, recidivism is lowered because they're taught how to be a normal person. To your point about the ASL kids, DSL kids, they're coming from a broken system, which may be broken, maybe not. Maybe they were given the perfect upbringing, whatever that may be, and they chose to still break the law because they just want to watch the world burn. Those people exist.
Personality disorders. I mean, that would be a personality disorder by conventional definitions, like antisocial or.
Yeah, and so if you go to the super shitty prison, you might end up either being the prefect and the guards rely on you to keep shit under control, or you're the guy that everyone in the cell is trying to control. And then the Norwegian prison, you end up not getting all the benefits of having your cell unlocked 24 hours a day, being able to go to a fully functioning kitchen in your dorm and make food for yourself whenever you want. You're losing those. It's not go sit in the corner and think about what you did, which is most prisons. It's, okay, you did something bad. Let's forget that mostly and work on what led you to do that. And how can we get you, once you're out of here, how can you meld back into society without that being a thing again?
In a system, workplace or society or a school system or a prison system, there is what I would call the perception of fairness. Not that nothing is fair, but a system with clear boundaries and structures and rules that its outcome is intended at least to be beneficial, and it has systems intended to address a lack of efficacy in terms of producing beneficial outcomes, that some sort of system exists to address those dynamically as they emerge and as things change. This would be ideal for a lot of these systems and is not often seeming to be effectively in place. And some of that is money, and some of that is attitudes, and some of that is like the governance of it. I think that in general, people do respond to incentives. And if you've committed a crime or whatever and you're in prison for whatever reason, if you had an opportunity to improve yourself, I think some people would respond to that. And just because I've always associated with so many different kinds of people who have the systems have kind of failed them because they still somewhat resemble those like Renaissance era systems that assume people are fundamentally the same, and that if you aren't a normal person, a right-handed, straight, normal person, you aren't allowed to participate meaningfully in society by the people who gatekeep that stuff. And I think the more that we've relaxed that and we've opened things up, we've found that, like, in my personal opinion, I think that everybody who doesn't have a physically broken thing in their brain is a genius, is a cognitive genius, has genius level ability to think and process and do whatever brains do. But the way your brain works is however you make it work and however your social structure makes it work. We're puppeted around by our culture and by our society and by our education and by our language. And we learn habits over time. And so at the end of all that, you come out using your brain the way you do, and then we administer a test that says you're this smart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. That is a thing that you can do, and yeah, you'll be able to measure people's conventional smartness and say, okay, well, your IQ is 120, you're going to make 100,000 a year, and you're going to go and work in this field. But that is, of course, reductionistic. And some of the most effective people are totally fucked up in one or two ways. And until we figure out how to fix that problem, we got to do something with all these people not to say it's our responsibility, because everyone has their own responsibility, but it is society's responsibility and us as individuals to engineer a society that ideally makes space for people who could be useful but aren't being used, such as myself.
An inmate in Croatia costs the state $1,000 a year.
No way.
Murderers with murderers, and when they get let out, you get better murderers.
It's amazing.
The inmate cost for the state in Norway is $106,000 a year, and they put murderers with embezzlers, and guards that truly do give a shit. So in Croatian prison, they're given military training as a guard. Like, here's how to control a riot. Here's how to control someone who's larger than you in physical combat. In Norway, the guards are given psychology classes. They do still get some of the hand-to-hand stuff because, some people's minds are broken. But the bulk of it is on psychology, and they give a shit about the inmates. Like, they don't want. I love seeing you every day, but I don't want to see you again. Where in most other prisons, I say Croatia because that one's fresh. Most other prisons, it's I fucking hate you. I see you every day, and I'll see you when you're back. So yeah, it boils down to the same leadership thing. Don't be a dick. Meet people at their level. Give freely. Kat could have given you freely. I don't know if you know, but you signed up like for 4 hours from now. I don't know. Take it well.
It seemed like there was a certain pleasure taking in having that knowledge that I didn't have and watching me sit there the whole time.
Maybe.
I'm not super chafed about it. I'm just saying I think that may have been occurring.
Well, why? To what end?
Well, as I had said earlier, her smirk at you in the crowd could be motivated by like, look at this fucking asshole, or it could be motivated in like, he'll get there. Like, yeah,
I'm proposing an alternative theory as well. I think those are both sound theories, and they might be both true to a certain extent. You said she's like really good at it and kind of burned out, and I thought she was just like in over her head and spread out too thin. So our motivations are different. You've been there. Ask her. There's kind of, I think in Michigan, there's kind of a sense of humor tending towards that, like, oh, this person's not from around here. They don't get how it goes, and that's just so amusing.
That's like that. Michigan, that's town everywhere.
Small town, yeah.
If you've ever worked at like some like crappy job, like people come in, they're like, where's the bathroom? And you're like, oh, what a fucking idiot. They don't know where the bathroom, because really, really well where the bathroom is. You have to be there every day. But
yeah,
it's like, yeah, they just walked in. They've never seen the candy. They've never seen the registers. They don't know anything at all. They just walked into a brand new room that they've never been in before. So they don't know where the fucking bathroom is because the sign is like behind a shelf, like low down. It's like, you're an asshole. That's being a dick. You can't, that's Dunning-Kruger. I mean, you can't, people tend to assume that everyone knows the same shit that they know, and it like pisses them off. Like, you don't know everything I know. And so when your job is to just know this really tiny amount of information rather well, it's so frustrating that not everyone already knows that, because now you have to do the work of explaining it to them. And for some reason, that's just the worst thing in the world to have to do.
I think that trickles down from Frank's generation of, I had to kick, fight, scratch, just be here long enough to get anything that I have. I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah,
in the bathroom.
Because things were hard. The exchange of information was hard. It was hard knocks. You had to learn it through doing it. Yeah. And now this current 20 to 30 generation, or next 20 to 30 generation, I'm hoping one of them figures out that you shouldn't ask each other anything. We're in an age where every question can be answered to an extent.
I mean, I'm with you.
Answer? Well, we're working on that one. Well, maybe not. Who knows? But how far? Hey, how long does it take to bake a cake? Why would you fucking ask me that? I don't. Well, maybe I know, or maybe I don't. If I know, I'm the type of person who'll tell you. But if I don't, and I don't answer you, you don't know how to make a cake. It still interests me that these young bucks at work and young does ask like general questions like that, just like general being alive questions.
A bad example because a person would want to know specifically how you make a cake.
Well, okay, yeah. How long does an A train take from Queens to Bronx?
Queens.
Right. Yeah, but in general, questions are redundant. It's to make a connection. That's like really the only reason you should ask a question, that you have access to the information.
In this day and age, yeah. And a little bar tidbit to you when you're trying to mingle and not just sit at the table alone. Everybody. Don't buy shots for everybody. That's the easy way out. Ask questions that have a numeric answer.
Yeah, I'm learning this. I'm getting good at this. Last night I kind of felt like doing it that way. I kind of thought about approaching some people and I was just like, I'm good. I'm just gonna sit here and nurse my drink silently, stare at the wood.
You are a type of person that doesn't mind that situation, but for our listeners, all both of them,
I worry that other people mind me being that way, but I don't mind awkwardness at all. I don't even get why people don't like awkwardness. It's like,
please tell me that you have a digital copy or the physical copy of your freshman college badge. Do you remember the face you made in that? That's another thing that I'll laugh about.
I may have that in my binder because I know that was pretty special to me too.
Oh my God.
It's pretty good.
Obviously, social interactional awkwardness is not an issue for this guy.
There are so many unpleasant things. And to me, social awkwardness, it doesn't even register. It's so not unpleasant. It's so fine. I don't care. I'm not like, I don't like you a little bit because I was uncomfortable socially around you. It's like, well, grow up. Jesus.
When you didn't tell me where the bathroom was.
Over here being, if you're not happy, I think you need to adjust your shit a little bit to be happy and good and fine. And then come back and I'll just still be doing my thing over here.
A little behind the scenes, a little into the culture of Finnegan's Family Restaurant. When we'd have new people, we'd be on the line in a Denny's Perkins type situation, or just in the culinary field. A line cook is basically like the heavy gunner in a war. You're sitting there getting shot at, and you're just all night. You're not getting any strategy. You just fucking get it out. So
that's why they're all pissed off.
Oh yeah, oh God, it's so good. As these new people would come in, you're sitting there on the heavy gun, fucking laying on it, and this new person is just standing next to you. You go, "Hey, I need more burger buns now." You're like, where are they? Go past the washer and dryer. They're in the basement. And then the whole war would stop. I'd be all like, this building is built over a river. That person, the amount of time that person looks for the basement equates to how easy this person's going to be to train. Because someone who's easy to train is going to go past the washing machine, see no basement, and ask someone else, or just come back like, oh, okay, you got me. The person who's not going to be easy to train is the one that looks for the basement for way too long, doesn't ask anybody,
feel attacked
doesn't figure it out.
Because I would be looking for that fucking basement.
Well, and it's a slippery slope, because what's going to happen is whatever front of house staff was sent to go do the thing is going to go ask what was his name? Billy Coat. Hey, where's the basement? You'd be like, oh, it's just past the wash and dryer.
By the ice
he's on it too.
Of course,
because he's got an ice chest full of ice house. He doesn't give a shit.
By the Hewlett Packet plant.
But the difference between myself and the other dickheads who are still in the heavy gunner is they'd come back and be like, oh, okay, you got me. Like, all right, now you're one of us. You've been hazed. The ones that are still line cooks 20 years later are the ones who, hey, you fucking dumb shit, and then they do it every day. Like, well, they were hazed. They're in now. They were bled in.
This is one of those dumbass things I used to say in interviews. Like, people ask me what kind of like work environment I'm comfortable with, and what kind of interpersonal leadership situation I like. And I used to say that I was most comfortable if I was in an environment that someone could scream their head off at me, and I would just turn right back and scream right back at them. That's how I know things are working. Because like, we have emotion and we're doing work. This stuff is hard and fast. And if your screaming is insulting me, then we have a problem in terms of our setup.
Right.
And if you shouldn't be doing that. That's a problem. But in general, I find when I'm doing really good work, it's animated, and you can tell I'm comfortable if people can say something that's deeply personally insulting, and I'll just go like, yeah, okay. Anyways, yeah, that's when we're working hard, because it's like, none of that shit really matters here. We're just here to do work. It's in its own little bucket, and I don't come here with my ego.
Right.
Like, when I'm on the clock, my ego is not participating. My ego is for when I'm off. Like, I'm just applying a personality to a role. I'm an actor. And before I started to do that, it was really problematic, because I was trying to bring my personal thing into my work. And it's just,
that kept me in kitchens. That very thing kept me in kitchens for a long time, because it's a pirate ship. There's a definite leader, and then everybody else. Definitely questionable second leader or third, and then everybody else.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you're physically threatening each other, challenging each other's sexuality. There is HR in a kitchen.
The Batwing.
And like, just lose your fucking mind and threaten of death at someone. And 6 minutes later, need their help.
if that's working, and but it's got to be, it's consensual. That's the whole point of that. It's like,
that environment.
Yeah.
Pretty much no matter what level, it changes. The dynamic of it changes a little bit, but everyone in an ultra fine dining situation. Okay, now there's no reggaeton blasting in the back. Zero or very few people are like smoking weed because you're out. No one's smoking.
I was going for the slower.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no time for slow in a kitchen. So
it's my booty go. So that's what I was thinking there.
And then what ended up making me leave the industry is, even at the highest level, there is still the one smoking weed at the dumpster and will fuck up what you worked on. And my dream was, I stayed in it. If I just could move one level up, American private club thing isn't the thing. I'll go to French fine dining. Okay. And I'll go to like fusion and molecular gastronomy, and I'll do that stuff. That pirate ship never goes away. You're just on a better run pirate ship.
So you're a chef, and I have a feeling you're going to destroy this, but I have this line of thought I keep hearing in the workplace, the expression, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Too many chefs.
And I've heard that one too. I think the old one is cooks, but yeah, it should be chef. Or,
if we're back to the racist root of it, it's too many chiefs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and that one actually kind of makes more sense because it's specific. But my point there is, give me a fucking team of 10 people who know how to cook and put me up against an actually good cook. This is a matter of leadership. But are you going to tell me, like, you want to make money by preparing food? You only want one person to cook? That's stupid. Give me 300 people to cook. I'll make more food and produce more money. It might not be the finest food in town, but you know what? There's not as big a market for that as there is for McDonald's.
I'm not going to tear it apart, because I do hear it a lot. Also, I think it's used wrong a lot.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Too many cooks is too many chefs.
Problem.
And
it's a system problem.
Too many chiefs. It just means there's too many leaders.
There needs to be roles.
Different things happening. All 10 of these people are disjointed, and you're not going to end up with any sort of...
It's redundant on each other. Their roles are redundant over each other. They're trying to do the same goal. They're trying to administer the same goal, like atop one another.
Through different means. So, okay.
Yep.
The way I look at that saying is, okay, we're trying to make one plate for Adam, and he wants a cheeseburger with lettuce, tomato, onion, and French fries. Okay, if I have 10 people and I just tell them Adam wants dinner, you will never end up with that cheeseburger and fries.
Exactly. It's a systemic leadership problem. But I can say, like, okay, when we receive an order, you're the guy who takes the order and puts it here. You're the guy who starts reading the order and delegates it out. Like, yeah, that's too many cooks in the kitchen means to me bad leadership.
It's just disjointed.
Lack of defined roles.
Each person has a different goal. A kitchen in real life. So a heavy gunner kitchen, you're going to have maybe 2 or 3 people in that heavy gunner situation. You're going to have the grill broiler. You're going to have the hot guy. You're going to have the deep fry person. And you're going to have the like toast and condiment person, salads. As you move up, those are become better defined. So you'll have chef de cuisine, and you'll have garde manger, and you'll have the patisserie person. And these are just better defined roles and how it's going to go. In each of those situations, so in the heavy gunner situation, the person on the grill is the one taking the order, reading the order, giving the order in parcel to this smaller team. And then the bigger the team gets, the more important, like the best cook in a fine dining kitchen is not the one organizing all of that. That's for the expediter, or what are they called? Oh, they have a French title too, but they're the ones. They're not even in the kitchen. They're on the other side, saying, "Okay, I've got this. I need this and this. How long from the deep fryer? How long from the dessert guy? How long from this?" There's someone navigating that. So too many cooks in the kitchen, to me, means everyone's asking everybody else how long for this, but no one told them what they're making.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, you got cooks, give me cooks, I'll take them. You got too many cooks, you guys have a problem. My goal is to make money, and I'll always take more cooks.
So Danielle knows this all too well, because when I'm in the kitchen, I want to be alone. It's very different. That's a spatial issue. As I was talking about before, I can conceptualize my I have spatial awareness, which means I know where I set down the thing over there. If you're in the way on my way over there, or you've moved what was over there, my whole system hiccups for a second. I don't want to hiccup.
I know this is improvisation, but you're fucking me up.
I showed her Cody Trogdon's. Cody Trogdon's 30-minute stand-up.
That was really funny. I really enjoyed it.
And he has this guy beatboxing so he can sing the Kodo Troggins song, and he freestyles a little bit and just echoes what Cody said, and he stumbles a little bit and then stops the show. He's like, "What are you doing?" And the guy's like, just kind of gives him one of these. He's like, "Yeah, I know this is improv. You're improving, and I love it, but you're fucking me up." Okay, 3, 2, 1, and then he starts going again.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. I'll bet that's pretty awesome. I'm glad he did that.
It's on YouTube. If I were to give him any notes, there's a lot of what we talked about earlier inside stuff. He is performing in Missoula, Montana. So when he says, "I'm from Victor," so everybody knows what that's like. Only these only a million people could possibly know.
Yeah.
There's a bit of that.
Got a bookend.
Yeah, his comedy is fun. I love it. Danielle not being from Montana, I feel like there's a couple jokes that didn't land as good as they could have.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
My house has the step.
Just fill in the blank of that town name with some other town name that kind of context clues will tell you is about what we have in mind, depending on where you're from.
in my travels, I've told people that there are a lot more hillbillies in Montana than rednecks. And they're like, well, what's the difference? Well, a redneck has like a 2023 jacked up Chevy with giant mudding tires and the gun rack and the Calvin and Hobbes guy pissing on the Ford sign, where a hillbilly has a 1993 Ford pickup that's actually 3 pickups that have been put together so it still runs, and no bumper stickers. It's just duct tape holding shit together. Hillbilly, redneck.
Michigan's about 50-50 on that for that crowd of people. But yeah, I mean, just play the music, close your eyes. What you see, that's about what we're talking about.
Yeah, redneck is definitely the international harvester. And hillbilly is the there aren't even words. It's just mandolin, banjo, and maybe a guitar. Well, let's take a 12-minute cap on that. I got to catch a flight in a couple hours.
Ooh, yeah. What I was thinking we were doing today was just to figure out how to get a little closer to figuring out, like, for now, like, have the plan. And I feel like we've accomplished that. So this was the one I wasn't planning on recording. So
I hit record just to see what it looked like when it was recording, and it will not let me stop.
we got some juice in there though. Yeah, I see what you mean.
It will not let me stop. So
I mean, you could definitely get a show out of that.
The only reason that I thought this was a recording one is because of the autocorrect. I thought you were giving me a topic, and so if you noticed or didn't at the beginning, I was like, okay, so purgatory, I feel like this. In real life, purgatory in religion, I feel like this. And then like, purgatory in religion, I feel like this. And you're like, okay, in editing, I think we should definitely call out when the sound is bad. I was like, yeah, for sure. And so the dentist office is a little bit of purgatory, and the doctor's office is this and that. We had a little banter, and then you're like, so when the sound clipping happens, I think it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're sabotaging right now. I was under the misconception because of that little misprint. So I think meeting up, say, okay, 6:30 we meet up. However long the what's it called? Not the subtleties, no, the politeties. Whatever.
Niceties, yeah, just
nicety. Yeah, let a little bit of the conversation flow, warm up a little bit, get your vocal cords moving. We can cover. Okay, remember today we're going to talk about. The first time I used the line, people who say no matter what, if it doesn't kill us, it makes it stronger. I call bullshit on that. Whatever doesn't kill us is slowly wearing us down. I was with you passing this like 80-year-old man on the M switchbacks, and you're like, dude.
Yeah, those are, I think they both apply. It's like there's a certain critical threshold where the trauma is like more than something that will make you stronger, or it'll make you like.
I think applied to like mentality and thought processes. Yeah, you win or you learn, but people apply it to physical stuff.
Yeah, but Batman's ass don't be walking with a broken back.
Right. Yeah, it's final. Like that much scar tissue is going to fucking limit the mobility eventually.
Yeah, I mean, the mind has an incredible power to heal the body and to right itself, and yeah, but certain things are ridiculous.
We'll get into psilocybin in another episode.
Yeah, it's not. It's not 1-to-1.
Early on, when I was co-inhabiting with this cat, she was sitting on the bed like squint-eyed, just like peaceful with life, and I went boop on top of her head, and she like snapped awake and ran off. And Danielle's like, she trusted you. I don't think she's gonna take like social cues from that. She's just been getting away with it for too long. Well, about time to hit that old dusty trail.
See, that's all you gotta do. That's sign off.
That's more whistling through your teeth. So it'd be easier for you to say Mississippi that way.
Mississippi.
Yeah, than having to actually pucker your lips and blow hard.
Okay. That's for later.
You do live alone. You could be Jeffrey Dahmer if you wanted to be.
That was pretty wow, what a weird looking cat. Is that one of those werewolf cats?
Which is a naked cat. What do you mean werewolf cat? What is that?
Oh, the LaCoy.
The boy, she says?
Yeah, those are cool. No, she's a hairless one.
No, she's just a little pink naked.
The Groy, I like the pamplemousse. No, just kidding.
Yeah, we're going to go pick up some LaCrux later. Head to the beach. All right, here she comes. Danielle caught her against her will.
Yeah.
She's got a little fur on her face. Her tail has like light fur on it, and she's got boots with the fur.
She's terrified.
It's a wacky cat. What
The thing you can do with this cat that you can't do with others is blow raspberries.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, pretty normal cat. She runs hot, so they're expensive to buy, and also you have to heat the house warmer than you're comfortable. Other than that, you can slap some ham and blow raspberries. Those are the two benefits.
True.
Everything else is a negative.
She's just a cat. You mean the rest that makes her a cat is negative? Okay.
What do you mean?
I'm a dog man.
That's true.
Dogs are so. I did want to mention this earlier. When we were talking about the happy kid and the upset adult, ignorance actually is bliss. The super happy adults are also kind of thick. Like they don't really think about repercussions about things, like not legal repercussions. Just like they're kind of carefree and that they don't really think too hard about stuff. Those people are super happy. And then the smarter you get is a weird way to say it, but the more enlightened, I guess, you get, the more depressed you can get because you have the cognitive ability to conceptualize how bad things can be, and so you fret about those things.
I think that's also a pattern. I think that's also true. There's definitely a lot of ignorant people who are miserable and people who are rather developed that are happy. But yeah, I would say in general, like responsibility does to a certain extent equate to suffering. I think that's a fair analysis. It's completely down to what people choose to do. Some things are impossible, granted. So the choices that you have are rather limited, but limited also by creativity and a resistance to updates, enterprise systems that we made when we were riding on horses. I think there's both, and I don't know to what extent the thing I'm saying is like more prevalent. I don't think it is. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff is it's kind of universal. Like as people get old, they do suffer a little bit more, and life becomes more of a bittersweet, wintry thing. But also, like people endure a lot of trauma in their early adult lives that can become unnecessarily scarring and counterproductive, because there's a social perception that we have to protect all the little kids and all the teens from mental health issues. But like young adults, okay, you're on your own, motherfucker. Like, and there's all these young adults that have like severe mental health issues. It's like, you don't have to do anything about it. You don't owe anybody anything. It's just like, there's this issue in the system. I wonder if there's any affordable solution that could be devised for such a thing.
Overprotecting parents are ruining those children.
Yeah, that's a common thing. I mean, underprotecting and overprotecting. You want just the right amount of protecting.
Yeah, don't let any physical harm come to this child, but having the child hear fuck in public and then throwing a fit about it, yeah, that's going to make a fucked up person.
Some of the people make fun of you because you have freckles. And that's just, yeah, everybody's different in some way, and people will single you out for that. And everyone can pretend that that's not a thing, but it's a thing. People call out differentness. If you have a big birthmark all over your face, like people always be like, "Oh, you're different." Like that's
I'm
just
gonna pretend like I don't see it, and
yeah.
then stare at it while you're talking to me.
And I'm just like, "Oh, damn, you got like a huge birthmark all over your face." Okay, and then I'm comfortable with it because it's like it's there, it's a thing. Yeah, big birthmark. Like,
All right, I gotta pee real bad.
boom.
So, well, 30 next Sunday. You'll pay for the whole seat, but you'll only use the edge.